Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. Oh man, just recorded a video on me being a racist because of my China video, and now I just like let's just hit the hard topics one after another. Let's just do that, right? Okay. So now I'm going to address another comment that I got on YouTube, a comment that says, "Are you a creationist?" And that came from this video where I was talking about arguments and arguing with people. And so, oh gosh, how can I address this one? Am I a creationist? I'm assuming that this question is referring to whether or not I believe in evolution, or essentially a literal 7-day creation, or creation that happened in a short period of time. So is the Earth old and we evolved from monkeys and the Big Bang and all that, or did some benevolent creator create us maybe like, how many thousands of years ago, right? Like 10,000 years ago. Which is it? What do you guys think before I answer this question? You think that I think that we evolved from a Big Bang? Or do you think that I think there's some cosmic entity out there that mysteriously created everyone? Well, I'll give you the answer here. And actually, here's the thing about this. I don't think anyone should have a very strong belief in this because there's no facts, there's no data. Everything is a theory at this point. And I'm going to go back a little bit. And some of you are like just jumping out of your skin right now. I know, because you're like, evolution, obviously evolution. There's so much data, there's so much evidence. But here's the thing about that. Have you researched both sides? Have you honestly taken a look at the creation science literature to see if there's any evidence on that side there's no evidence on either side, I'll tell you that right now. But have you looked to see how do they explain things and what makes sense in what they're saying? Because there is significant arguments on both sides. Right? And it's something that we can't know. Now, as to my beliefs, before you get too crazy to go, right here, which do you think? Where do you think I fall? Well, I'll tell you exactly where I fall, and this is where I think that most people should fall on most subjects, which is right smack in the middle of I don't know. I don't know. Right? Because if you don't have information, right, you should not form a belief, because a belief is extremely dangerous because it's based on nothing but faith. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have faith in things, but you have to understand that when you put faith in things, that it is there's no science to back that thing up. That you could be wrong, right? You could be wrong. You have to entertain that possibility. And so there's certain things that you're going to have to put some faith in, right? I mean, you're just going to have to believe certain things. Right? To some degree, we can't doubt all of history, although I bet a lot of it is wrong. I bet a lot of it is lies. We have to take some things for granted. We have to have some faith in things. Right? But we need to limit what we put faith into, especially in regards to things that are not quite so important and things that are really quite unknowable. And that's where I stand on this, honestly. Like, I have examined both sides, and I've been on both sides of it. I have been someone who firmly, like, okay, textbooks, they say evolution, look at all this, you look at all this stuff, obviously, clearly evolution, right? And I've also been on the other side. I've been, I came into, actually, at one point in my life, I took a class on creation science, because I thought, okay, this is silly. I'm just going to go there and I'm just going to basically raise my hand and be like, yeah, obviously you're not a scientist, are you? You haven't looked at the science there. And, I sat there in the class dumbfounded because I had never heard of all of this stuff. And there was some really good arguments for for creation, for that the Earth wasn't quite so old as scientists and carbon dating seem to indicate that it was. And really are. I know some of you are still really doubtful because that, right? We make a lot of assumptions about things, right? And these assumptions aren't necessarily correct. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that evolution is not correct. I'm not saying that at all. It very well may be, but it very well may not be. It's really, really hard, right? We live in a world where we're brainwashed. I want to help unbrainwash you because I want you to know that when you go to CNN.com and it says 500 million years ago, that's total hogwash bullshit because no one can know, first of all, what happened. They can not even have the foggiest idea. For all we know, right? Elon Musk said this. We could be in a virtual reality simulation and our lives might not even be real. And the computer program might not have started. The data on that program might not go back that far. It may be that there's a whole bunch of seeded data in there, in the program, that goes back for our history to make it look like things are older than they are. There's a billion explanations for it. It could be that you had 100 million years ago, this entire universe warped in from another dimension, right? There's you don't know. You don't know what happened. We don't even have a good grasp on what happened historically 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, right? We've got pieces of stuff. But we don't even know. We don't even know 100 years ago. We've got false histories. We've got problems with our timelines and knowing historical records. Right? We've improved. Right? We've got much better. But to think. I mean, do you understand how big a million is? Right? Can you even fathom how long a million years is? Right? Can you imagine the margin of error? And yeah, you could say carbon dating, radioactive carbon dating and all this stuff, but that assumes that the atmosphere had to be, there's a lot of data points. Yes, this stuff could work out and it could make sense, but it could also be just total hogwash. It may not be accurate at all. I just want to unbrainwash you from this. Again, this is not me refuting, quote, science. I'm just saying that this isn't science. This is pure speculation that you are led to believe is valid science. Science, right, is something that you test a theory and you perform multiple experiments and it either validates that result or it doesn't. That's a scientific method, right? These things that that we believe that's forced down our throats, those are not anywhere in the realm of the scientific method. When we go out and we say, oh, we have this theory, and it's this Big Bang theory, and the whole universe, blah, 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 and there's not enough matter, so there must be dark matter that we can't detect, because that will make up for the missing mass. That sounds like it could be true. That's possible. But it could also just be a real good way to fill in the gap in the theory that you have that's not working so well, right? Again, I'm not saying that the Earth and universe isn't, the Earth isn't hundreds of millions of years old and the universe isn't billions of years old. It very well could be. There's really good, pieces of data that seem to indicate that that's likely true. But I'm also saying that it's possible that there's a third alternative. There's something we haven't even thought of. There's 1,000 other possible explanations, models, if you will, or theories that could fit this, right? And the chances that we've brought it down to these two, and it's one of those two, pretty slim. Probably we don't know. So that's where I stand. Is I don't have a stand. I have some data on both sides, and I pick a third way. I don't choose to have a strong opinion at this point in time, but I do choose to say that neither one of them seems totally loony. Actually, I'll take that back, because both of them seem totally loony, because let's go back. Let's just go back. Let's just use some of our faculties, right, to actually think for ourselves. And let's go back and let's look at two premises. Let's look at one premise that says that we evolved, right? And so if we did, and we follow that whole thing back, right? Because it's got to all be true or none of it, right? Because that's the way, but let's follow that back to the Big Bang, and let's say that, okay, so in this universe, we have a cause and effect, right? Every effect had some cause. So there must have been some effect, the Big Bang, the dot particle, whatever it was, the whole universe in one dot before it blew up, that there must have been some effect that had no cause. That okay, it just magically happened, and then we had to start asking some questions. Well, what happened before that? Oh, well, time didn't exist. It just magically came into creation by itself, spontaneously, without a cause. Okay, that's pretty strange. It's mystical, right? Or we have to say there's some high power. There's a God somewhere. And okay, so what happened before God? No, he was eternal. He just existed forever. Well, let's just keep rolling back the timeline. Oh no, he exists outside of time. Okay, so he created everything, and now he's not really interacting very much. Okay, that's pretty weird. You see what I'm saying? Like, wherever you go, it's going to be weird. To some degree, you could say, well, the only thing that makes sense is that there's God and He created all this stuff. And you got to still ask the question, where did God come from, and all this, and that's a very mystical viewpoint. But at the same token, if you go to the Big Bang and you say that some dot appeared and blew up, and it doesn't have a cause. It's an effect without a cause. That's pretty mystical and weird as well. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is why I don't want to form an opinion on this, because my opinion is worthless. What I can give you that has some value is maybe some ability to think for yourself. When you read an article and it says something, it makes some kind of assumption about something that's older than, like, say 2,000 years. You should laugh. You should chuckle a little bit and wonder why they didn't say, scientists estimate or theoretically blah blah blah, because that's the truth, right? That's the honest truth is we don't know. When we start taking this stuff for fact. And then here's the problem with it, right? Because you beat up all these people that are so stupid because obviously blah, and you're the one who's stupid because you don't have the data. You are straight on a belief. You are standing on a single thread, right? That has no stability, and you're making an entire argument and belief system based on that thing. And then beating up other people who are so stupid because they're so naive and dumb. It just doesn't make sense. The best thing to do in that case is just not to form an opinion at all, because you don't have a really good one, right? You see what I'm saying? And it's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of things that you should not have opinions about. There's a lot of things where you should say, I've heard this, I've heard this. I could kind of lean one direction, but I choose not to. I'm just going to be in the middle here, and because I don't have enough data, and I don't have to have it. I don't have to have an answer. You don't have to have an answer for everything. Someone could say, "Who do you want to win the election?" You could say, right? You could have it. You could be like, someone could ask you, which is better, red or blue, and you could say, It doesn't matter. I don't need to have an opinion on that. I don't have to have a favorite color. I don't have to, I don't have to make qualitative judgments between things that I don't actually care about or have enough information about. And that's all that I'm saying there. So, judge as you will on this, but it's unfortunate that we. And I'll say one last thing about this. How many times have we believed something to be a model, something to be scientific fact, right? And we've told everyone this is how it is, and we've been wrong, dead wrong about it, right? We've reversed it. How many times in science, in technology, does that happen? How often, right? Do you remember the whole before the heliocentric theory, right? Remember when people thought the earth was flat? Remember when people thought that the universe revolved around the earth? You know, remember all these things? Remember when the shamans thought that they needed to sacrifice humans to please the gods and that would make it rain? Do you remember all this stuff? They believed this stuff, right? And they killed people who didn't believe this stuff, right? And they burned people at stakes, right? This is why this kind of thinking is dangerous. Right? It's so much better to say, geez, I don't know what causes it to rain. I don't know. Instead of make some shit up, right? To make yourself feel better. It's okay. You can be okay with not knowing the answer to things and not having an opinion on them. So, you know, again, I do that. I put out that tweet every once in a while that says, you know, I choose to not be for or against anything. And that's what I mean by it, is you don't have to choose a side. Anyway, I've beaten the hell out of this horse, but I thought that was an interesting question. Are you a creationist? So there you have it. That's my answer. My answer is yes, no. My answer is in the middle. And my answer is I don't have enough information. So, and I think that should be your answer too. I think that should be everyone's answer, is we don't know. Right? Again, I'm not saying one side or the other. I'm not saying there's not a God. I'm not saying that that Big Bang is false. I'm just saying that we don't know, and we're probably never going to know the answer. So, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Oh, I dropped my remote. And I'll talk to you next time. Take care.